Hello everyone and welcome to Lockdown Learner. Our today's topic is time complexity. Although you have some doubts how this time complexity depending on which factors, like some of you are thinking that number of lines it is depending on, it is depending on time to execute, space to execute, like these all factors you are all are having in your mind. So let me clear that these all factor doesn't matter on time complexity. We will clear your all your doubts in this session. Okay, first we are moving on to your definition. Like time complexity, time required to solve the entire program using some efficient algorithm. For algorithm we have a video, kindly watch that video. It's like video number 2. It is explained that algorithm is a step-by-step process. Step 1, step 2, step 3, like taking input, then adding number and then output. These kind of things are like algorithm. We are not going in deep inside that. Now you are knowing like time required to solve the entire program using some efficient algorithm. Okay, now this have some formula also. Time required to efficient problem is like C plus is like TP. TP is instance. Okay, at here we are having like TP is time complexity of program P. Let me explain you this further. Time complexity of program P. Okay, some program we are assuming, and C is compile time. Compile time is like constant for every program, so it is like a, you can say it's a constant. Okay, and then we are having a variable like TP. TP is like runtime. Like runtime variable, like how much time is it taking during the runtime. Okay guys, now we are having exact formula of like time required to solve the entire like problem is like our time complexity. So we are having a formula also. Now let us see about the factors on which this time complexity is depending on. According to you, the factor number 1 is like factors. Okay guys, we are discussing these factors. Like number 1 factor according to you is like number of rows. Okay guys, number of rows is the first factor, and second factor is like, you can say, easy to implement, or you can say understand. And then we are having our third is like time to execute. And our fourth is space to execute. And our fifth is number of statement. Now some of you are worrying about like number of rows and number of statements should be like same. Why we are not counting it the same? It's a different number of statement is different and number of rows is different. We will explain you further. Let me explain you one thing. These factors are depending on time complexity or not. You have like, you are knowing, सबको पता है कि ये factors हैं और सब सोचते हैं कि हाँ ये time complexity पे depend कर रहे हैं. तो अब हम इनके बारे में further discuss करते हैं कि ये क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं depend, और depend कर रहे हैं तो क्यों कर रहे हैं. सबसे पहले हमारे पास आता है नंबर ऑफ रोज. एक मैंने कहा एक एक्सपीरियंस बंदा है और एक फ्रेशर है. आई हैव गिवन अ प्रोग्राम फॉर टू एन एक्सपीरियंस एंड टू अ फ्रेशर. Experience write that program in 10 lines and fresher write that in programs in 100 lines. But the main thing is like that program is running, but the experienced program is like good to see and like easy to implement because it is 10 lines and fresher is in 100 lines. So not valid, it is not valid reason, because it is depending on person to person. Depending on person to person, P2P is person to person, not program to program. It is depending on person to person. So our number 1 factor is not basically a space complexity, time complexity factor. Now easy to implement or easy to understand is also depend on person, because I have discussed like experience write 10 lines, so it is easy to knowing, and fresher will write in 100 lines, so this factor is not also there. Now we are having is like another factor, that is time to execute. Guys, we are having processors, okay, we are having processors. Different laptop or like different systems have different processors. Suppose a Intel processor takes 4 seconds to run a program. 4 seconds is much more, it takes very less time. And suppose XYZ processor takes 6 seconds. So it's not about our program, it's dependent on processor. The time of execution is depending on our processor, not to our program line, so it is also not a factor. Now space to execute. Now space to execute a program is also not a valid, because let me explain you one thing also, that number of rows thing also. As you already know, when we are converting high level language using preprocessor to pure high level language, and then it goes to compiler. Okay guys, you all know, and there are further steps like assembler and all, linker and loader. In preprocessor step, we are removing all unnecessary information. Okay, in preprocessor only we are removing the unnecessary information, so we don't need to like see, like suppose I write a one program, it's like suppose adding of a two number. So what I did is like int a, int b, int c, I write like this kind of thing, and like I'm writing like c equals to a plus b, and then I'm giving output. These are like number of lines are here 5, and suppose I am defining like int a comma b comma c. Input is also here, so I missed this input, a plus b, and output it is less line. So our preprocessor is converting like the lines which are not useful and removing those lines, okay, unnecessary information. So basically अगर आप कोड 100 लाइन में भी लिख रहे हैं, 10 लाइन में भी लिख रहे हैं, प्री प्रोसेसर उस कोड को एक लाइन में कन्वर्ट कर देता है. इट विल कन्वर्ट इट इनटू वन लाइन. उससे कोई नहीं है कि नंबर ऑफ रोज से इफेक्ट पड़ रहा है. प्री प्रोसेसर सारी चीज़ों को रिमूव कर देता है अननेसेसरी, ओके, थिंग्स वी डोंट नीड इन अ प्रोग्राम, और द थिंग्स विच आर नॉट हेल्पिंग इन अ प्रोग्राम टू रन, ओके. सो नंबर ऑफ रोज इसलिए डिपेंड नहीं करता है. अब स्पेस फॉर एग्जीक्यूशन पे आ जाते हैं. इट्स लाइक space is like we are having a statement like, let me talk about space also. Space also not depend on like execution time. Different like different compiler have different like space, like int I, suppose I used in some other program and int I, it is of 4 byte and it is of 2 byte. So space is different. It is also not depends on like programmer, or it does not like, we cannot consider it into the time complexity factor. Now the last one we are left with is number of statement. Let me clear you number of statement and number of rows, difference between number of rows and number of statement. Our every statement, note this thing, every statement ends with semicolon. If I am writing int I, it's a statement. This bracket is not a statement. When we are not having like semicolon, it will not consider it into the statement. So our time for execution is basically depending on the statements we are having in a program. Okay, the myths we are having like number of rows, time to execute, and these are kind of myth. Let me clear you all these things. These are not depending, only number of statements is the main factor which is depending. Okay, it will also differ from lines of code. Okay, you know now, like suppose number of statement, like suppose I write a program to add two numbers. So let me clear you how many statement it is having, like int main int a comma b comma c, and we are having c equals to a plus b, and then printf. We use %d, yeah, we use %d as a delimiter, or like we are printing c. So how many statements we are having? 1, 2 and 3. How many lines we are having? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are having 6 lines and 3 statements. This is basically a difference between statement and a line. Okay guys, now you are able to understand like what is main difference between statement and a line. Okay, let me discuss more about like how to calculate how to do with the complexity thing. Like suppose consider same program, adding of two number int main, and we are having like int a comma b comma c, and like again we are having is c equals to a plus b, and then print f is like %d and like c. Okay, now let us calculate the time complexity for it. It is like it will take like one time it will run, it will also run like once, it will also run once. The time complexity is 3, or you can say simple 3. Okay, now let us check the time complexity for loops and all different. Like suppose we have to add n natural numbers, so what we will write is like int sum equals to 0, and then I will start with for int I equals to 1, I is less than n, and I plus plus. Okay guys, and then I am doing a sum equals to sum plus I, and then I am like printing number of times our statement execute is basically time complexity. So I am printing this sum, and then let us see the time complexity. So how many times this loop will run? According to you is n, but it's wrong. It will run n plus 1 times, because it will then check the n condition also. Okay guys, it is like it will run like n times, and this one is like 1 time. So our total time complexity is like n plus 1 plus n plus 1. Okay guys, inside it n plus 1 times it will be running, and it is going to run is n times. So we can also like do like this thing, like 2n plus 1 is our complexity. Okay guys, now you are able to understand like how to calculate time complexity and all, and now you know like on which factor our time complexity is depending on. So you are better to know about like how to calculate now time complexity. If you are having a loop inside loop, then it will be like n into n, and if you are having a loop here, and if you are having a loop here, the loop ending at here, so this is like n, this is like n, so it is n plus n. If you are having a loop inside loop, then we use a multiplication like n into n. Okay guys, thank you.